What's going on, y'all? I'm Czar, and in this video, we're going to look at Lifeline Console, which is the follow-up to Excite Audio's Lifeline Expanse, which was their multi-effects plugin, and this is now a channel strip. This has some unique features, some really cool features, and I'm going to show you why it's one of my favorite channel strips right now. So if you're familiar with Lifeline Expanse, it was a multi-effects plugin with 5 different sections. We carry that over to Lifeline Console with the 5 different sections, but we have some additional features here which can make for dialing in extra clarity and depth and sheen to your tracks, or just to make some quick tone adjustments. So let's look at the controls, and then of course I will let you hear what it sounds like. So like I said, 5 different sections here. We've got preamp, EQ, compressor, modulation, and wear, which you can flip between tape, vinyl, and cassette. And these can all be reordered, so you can order these in however you see fit. Input, output here on the far right. And this is really cool. In this bottom right section, we have a blend between vintage, which is going to emulate a vintage console. We've got clean, and then we also have dry, which is nothing at all. So, and if you look in the bottom left, you can hover over each parameter and see what it does. It says here for clean, a modern sounding mixing desk for gentle glue and subtle warmth. And vintage, adjust, where's vintage? There we go. Vintage sounding mixing desk with a limited frequency range for a lo-fi sound. And then we also have warm and shine down here. So this is what I was saying by, even if you didn't touch any of these 5 sections up here, you can just turn up the warmth for some low frequency, and you can turn up shine for enhanced high frequency. Really nice to quickly shape your tracks. All right, with this we've got main and advanced for each one of these sections. Again, if you're familiar with Lifeline Expanse, this will be very familiar to you. And I'll mention before I forget, there are 2 versions of this. This is the full version. There's also a light version as well. All right, so looking at the preamp, you've got bright, warm, and dark, and we'll go through that in a second. Through the EQ, we have dirty, vintage, and gain. Here's the advanced section on that. For the compressor, we have analog, transparent, and variable. For the modulation, we've got tape, vinyl, and cassette, which is the same as the wear, cassette, vinyl, and tape. And just a quick look at the advanced sections there. I can't remember. I don't think we opened up the compressor. Let's take a quick look at that. All right, so very easy to use. You can use it just from its standard main view you have right here. If you want to go a little more in depth, you can click advanced and really get into those controls and change the parameters up here between those 3. So a lot of different tones and character that you can get with this. All right, let's go ahead and check out how this sounds. So I'm going to bypass this, and there is no other processing on this vocal. This is a vocal from K Penny, and I've got just a little bit of reverb on it, and I'm going to play it bypass, and then we'll bring in Lifeline Console, and then we'll go through what I'm doing here. Let's turn that back off. All right, so this is the vocal with everything bypassed.
I love it when you bring me that nobody here knows us.
And now with Lifeline Console.
I love it when you bring me in closer, pretending that nobody here knows us.
All right, so we've opened up that top end, and a lot of the top end I'm adding really isn't is not at all with the EQ. As you can see here, there's no high frequency boost going on in the EQ. This is all from the preamp and this shine section on the end. So let's take a closer look at that. I'm going to solo the vocal, and let's go through these different preamp types. So we can drive it. Push is going to change this curve that you see there. Drive is, of course, going to add the saturation into the preamp. but you're really getting your color from this bright, warm, and dark, and you can see the saturation curve changing there, which is a really nice visual to know what you're doing with the track. So let's bypass the EQ. We'll leave the compression for now. So this is bright.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
Warm.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
And dark.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
All right, and this is with it bypassed.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
And with the bright.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
All right, we're going to bypass the preamp for now. Let's look over at this warm and shine. Let's turn that down. This is with the warm.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
All right, starting to make things a little too warm for me. We're starting to lose some clarity, but let's turn up the shine.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
It's really nice. Turn back on the preamp. Let's go through these different types of EQ here. We're going to add some high frequency. Add some high frequency, and it's a little weird EQing like this. Yeah, this makes more sense to me. Okay. Yeah, turning up the high shelf. I'm going to turn this shine down, and we're going to go through these different EQs here. So we've already been listening to the gain. Let's go to the vintage.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
And dirty.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
All right, definitely hearing more saturation and color with the dirty there. Okay, and actually, if we look down here at the bottom left, a dirty circuit adds heavy saturation and distortion when boosting. So that's definitely what I'm hearing. Let's see with the vintage. A vintage circuit that adds additional harmonics when boosting. Okay, so I'm guessing gain is just clean. A clean circuit for simple and clinical EQ tasks. So yeah, we've got 3 different flavors of EQ that you can switch between here. So the more we go through this, you really see how powerful this channel strip is. Let's go through these different types of compressor. So analog, a classic compressor that smooths out signals and offers the character of hardware units. Transparent is a modern compressor for clean gain reduction. Variable is an adaptive compressor with an input-dependent response. All right, let's go through these. Let's open this up. This is the analog.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
Transparent.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
All right, doing less compression there on the transparent and variable.
I love it when you bring me in closer.
All right, so that's just what I thought it was going to be. The variable is really aggressive. I mean, for this vocal, I just prefer the analog here. I would like to see exactly how much gain reduction I'm doing, but you see we have the gain reduction meter there on the right. And even though we're not seeing exactly how much we're doing, you can get some visual of the gain reduction that is going on. All right, to kind of keep this video short, I'm not really going to go through the modulation and where, especially on this vocal. But lastly, let's turn back up this shine, and I'm going to switch this over into vintage. And let's go through this dry, clean, and vintage. And then, of course, we can do anything in between. But I'm going to go extreme, dry, clean, and vintage. Just so you can hear those different tones. And I'm going to unmute the track so we get the full song back. Actually, let's not do that. Let's jump over to, I've got another instance on the mix bus here, because I also want to show this is very powerful on the mix bus as well, just for some mix bus compression, EQ, and again, that preamp, just adding saturation for your whole mix. So yeah, let's go through these at the end here. Turn that on. All right, so this is dry.
I love it when you bring me in closer, pretending that nobody here knows us. Don't it feel like you and me just in a sea of motion, pulling when I push it back, you cushion that, come forward.
So you can hear the difference there between the dry, clean, and vintage. And like I said, of course, we can blend anywhere in between those to get exactly what you're looking for. All right, so final thoughts on Lifeline Console. Really only complaint I have is really the same thing I had with Lifeline Expanse. I wish I could open up open or close this main and advanced view all at once for individual ones that I had open. But besides that, this is a really nice and a different approach to a channel strip that I really like. Even the layout is just something different and just a breath of fresh air really for channel strips. I really like this finishing circuit here on the end with the dry, clean, vintage, and then warm and shine, because again, if I bypass the preamp, EQ, and compressor, I can just turn up the warmth or turn up the shine and just quickly shape something without even going through these other 5 processors here. The preamp section is nice. A lot of channel strips or some channel strips will give you the preamp section, but this actually gives you different colors of the preamp section. And that, of course, is just starting off your chain, or you can reorder it, any way that you want. But having different types for the preamp, different types for the EQ, and different types for the compressor. Just those 3 right there gives you a very wide range of tone and character that you can get with this channel strip. Huge fan of this. And then if we pair this also with Lifeline Expanse for multi-effects, you can really get a lot going with that. So let's talk pricing. Right now, the intro price right now for Lifeline Console is $49. And of course, I'll have a link in the description. The light version is $29. You can, with the link that I have, you can go to it, scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you can look at the differences between the light and the full version. I'll have links to both of them in the description. And if you haven't checked out Lifeline Expanse, I will have a link to that as well. I'll pull that up if you haven't seen that yet. But very similar UI. And this is Lifeline Expanse here. All right, so like I said, I will have a link in the description if you want to check these out, learn more about them, or pick them up. If you like this video, I appreciate a thumbs up. And if you want to continue to see content from me, then you know what to do. All right, any questions, comments, let me know, and I'll catch y'all next time. I invite you to check out my podcast, the Faders Up Podcast, a podcast about pro audio and beyond. Season 3 is now underway, and in this season, we'll be doing a lot of topics requested by listeners. So if you have a topic you want to hear discussed on the podcast, email us, DM us, or join us in our Facebook group, Faders Up Podcast, and let us know. And if you haven't checked out the podcast yet, I have a link in the description that'll take you to the page.